Good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus. My name is Faraz Patel. We say Jazakallah to you, the viewer, for staying with us. Now, the Muslim Correctional Services plays a vital role in supporting the Department of Correctional Services by providing educational programs, counseling, and halal advisory services, serving approximately 4,000 offenders across South Africa. Now, this comes as the Muslim Correctional Services Board hosted a successful annual general meeting, bringing together over 40 spiritual workers from across South Africa, including Gauteng, Limpopo, Free State, Mpumalanga, and the Northwest Province. Joining me now, I'd like to welcome from the Muslim Correctional Services Board, Moulana Ahmed Namutamba. Moulana, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah so much for joining us here on News in Focus on Hilaal TV.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I appreciate you're actually bringing us on air and actually touching a topic that most people, they take it for granted.
Yeah, I mean, you've just mentioned it. Sometimes people take it for granted because many don't understand. I mean, there's the stigma, Moulana, and I mean, you'll touch on it also, that once you are a convicted felon, once you are sitting in prison, it's over for you. Obviously, there's various crimes that occur, but for the crimes where a lot of people would say there has to be a sense of redemption, how does an organization like yours say, let's allow them back into society in a way that people can accept them?
I think it is a command of Allah to start with as Muslims, and that human life is equally worth, in the sense that if we are to go back into the Battle of Badr, when the battle was over, everything has been was settling down. One of the key issues that came to the attention of the Muslims were Muslims that were non-Muslims that were captured during the battle, and the command came from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that these men who are our captives, who are our prisoners, take them, feed them, and look after them well. And if any one of them actually take upon themselves and educate 10 Muslims, they will be free to go. So the importance the Prophet ﷺ showed there was that it is important that inmates or prisoners should be looked after, and as well as we as Muslims, in that process of looking after them, rehabilitation must take place, and as well as conscientize the community as well, that as much as we might think that, it's human nature that when someone is in a correctional center, we wish they stay there. But sometimes that is not a reality. At some point, they have to rejoin society. And that is where the Muslim Correctional Services Board comes in to intervene on the behalf of society, because we understand that the whole correctional or the corrections itself, it is a societal responsibility that has been put upon us, that those who will be on the wrong side of the law within our communities, it becomes a responsibility of us to try and bring them closer to goodness.
Moulana, there's one person I can think of course, not here in South Africa, but in the United States of America, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, of course, a martyr of Islam. He learned Islam in prison. And of course, this began, the journey of the late Malcolm X. There's your inspiration right over there, isn't it? That a man like him, who was a convicted thief, a drunkard, a drug addict, washed out in society during a very difficult time for black African Americans in that country, could become such a huge figure of promoting Islam within the United States. And I'm sure this is something that your organization, the Muslim Services Correctional Board, is looking to say, here's your second chance, like Malcolm X, where you can go out and propagate deen. I mean, that's something really positive, which gives you a second chance, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful and the most knowing.
Oh, correctly said. Look, when I think it comes in twofold. One is that when a person is he's in a correctional center, he has time to introspect in his life and start thinking about how he can change his life and reconnect to the norms of society. And in most cases, we find that religion plays an important role in bringing that about. Now, the second part is that there are those who go in and they are not Muslims, and eventually they see the presence of Islam in these walls of correctional centers, and they start actually connecting themselves with this deen, and eventually they become Muslims. And so our intervention is, our primary focus is to see to it that while they are there, their iman is protected. That is, whether a person is a new Muslim or a person goes in there as a Muslim, their iman is protected. Those who accept Islam in there, their iman is protected. And by the time they come out as well, they are positively contributing towards the betterment of themselves and society at large. So that is the role we play.
And I want to touch on maybe, and you could speak of these examples, Moulana, of non-Muslims who have seen obviously the work that you have done. I mean, Islam comes in so many beautiful ways that for somebody to take the Shahadat, you should not be surprised, because Allah's miracles works every day. But can you share with us maybe incidents where you've seen convicted felons and they are what maybe the public outside of the prison walls would look at as a washout, as somebody who is of a, there is no road for him to any positivity or salvation. And he sees Islam and he says, I want to take the Shahadat and change my life, but not just my life, the life of those around me and my community as a whole.
I'll give just two examples I'll give. And I will, there is one person, he went in there, he was a gangster.
Right.
As he went in there, he started interacting with the Muslims, and eventually he bought a Quran by selling his own jacket in there, and eventually became a Muslim. But people had lost hope on him from his family and others in society. They had actually written him off. Then eventually he started learning the Quran while he was there. He translated English Quran. So he took it upon himself that when I leave this correctional center, I will go and enroll in a Darul where I will learn this beautiful deen of Allah. And eventually today, he is actually doing wonders in his community in KZN. And there's one story as well I will share. There is this lady, an Afrikaner lady, right? He committed a very serious crime where he murdered his someone, and that case actually was in the headlines in Velcom.
Yes, yes,
all right.
Yes.
So this story, it actually moved me that one day I was called to Johannesburg Correctional Center to go and actually attend a program called VOD, Victim Offender Dialogue. And this lady, her sentence was, the judges didn't find it. There was no precedence in that case where they can look and say, we will sentence you for this period of time. So what they said, take 20 years, we'll take you to Johannesburg Correctional Center, ladies section, where you will serve 20 years there. Then from there, we'll assess, then give you a judgment on how we are going to proceed with you. So when she went in there, as she was serving a time, she started having nightmares. And eventually she started connecting herself with any religion that she could actually participate in. So it came that it started to occur to her that whenever she attended Islamic gatherings that were taking place with the ladies that were actually attending there, she was sleeping peacefully. And this happened for a long time. Then she started saying, I need to know more about this religion. And eventually she became a Muslim. And today this was a person who was on drugs, murdered someone. And when you visited that time, she was in full hijab. And there she was. So that is why we say that life is equally worth. And also there is a thin line between committing a crime, being outside and being inside as well.
Sure.
You can find that a person can be a good person. Because of error in judgment, a person commits a crime and he ends up there. So that is where we come in and say, let's give them hope And through that hope as well, we are doing our responsibility, which Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, that there has to be amongst you those who will call towards goodness and discourage people from doing evil.
After the break, I continue my conversation with Moulana Ahmed. We're going to be talking about the state of the current correctional services across South Africa and the work that they're doing to try and make sure that Islam is being propagated in the various prisons across the country. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm in conversation with Moulana Ahmed Namutamba from the Muslim Correctional Services Board. Moulana, before we talk about the current state of the prisons, the educational work that is being done, I'm assuming it ranges from Quran to Aqaid to fiqh to even history lessons, to really the basics of us, what we need to do and be as Muslims. How is that being transferred within these prisons to try and make sure that not only is the education preserved, but there is a sense of understanding of what's being done to keep it within the prisons?
Firstly, we have imams or ulamas that go to correctional centers. Their solely duty is to actually educate, and the main focus is islah, that is self-reformation, for ourselves and for the inmates as well. And in there as well, all the programs that we have mentioned are taken care of. Above that as well, we encourage people in correctional centers that they partake in other educational fields that can actually contribute towards their economic emancipation, as you might say. When they come out, they will be able to find jobs or be able to employ themselves. This is also given by the government itself. They've got a facility for that. It is only the inmates who can actually access that by request and say, I want to enroll for this course, and government will take care of that. If they are unable to access that, the Muslim Correctional Services Board will actually give bursaries or facilitate bursaries for them. And for them also to actually have a better understanding of deen, that's where Hilaal also plays a pivotal role to see to it that whatever they are learning is institutionalized within their lives. Because without Hilaal itself, which is a huge challenge, of course, because the people we are dealing with in correctional centers, they have no clue as far as Hilaal is concerned. So it becomes our responsibility to educate them how to handle Muslim diet, and as well as to educate the Muslim inmates how they can actually work together with the officials on the ground, and ourselves to see to that there is halal meals that are being given to the Muslims in correctional centers. So these are some of the areas that we cover, and we have also looked at those who are coming out that through our network of Muslim NGOs, that we facilitate a period where their lives are made easier by actually giving them maybe some assistance as far as their upkeep for a certain period of time when they come out of the correctional centers, to make their life smooth landing as they re-engage or reintegrate back into society.
Moulana, the state of prisons right now, overcrowding obviously has become quite a huge talking point within the various correctional services of the country. How does the Muslim Service Board say, let's try and address this in a way that does not discourage or take away the motivation from the felons who are, of course, of the Islamic faith, and those who want to go ahead and turn to Islam, that their hope is being kept high? Because the justice system in this country, the wheel obviously turns very slow, but also within the correctional service as part of things, it just seems to be a drag in trying to sort out the overcrowding problems on the various prisons.
But it is a huge problem. It is a challenge. One is, I think, all the correctional centers in the country are facing this challenge. I will mention, like, if you go to most prisons that actually accommodate about 3,000 people, you find them there's 6,000 people that are being accommodated there. So where we try and assist is that there are those who have committed lesser crimes, try and put them on a rehabilitation program, and our reports will reflect to say that this is how far they've gone, and it is up to the parole board to see to that they are released. And eventually we connect them with the masajid in different areas where they can be assisted as well to see to it that they don't go back to the correctional centers. But it is a huge challenge, and I think with the new minister, we see that the minister has been doing quite a lot of work, and the new commissioner as well. They've been on the ground to try and actually to alleviate this problem that is within correctional centers. And I would also say that I think it is important for us as a people, as humanity, to say that correctional centers in any given country are a snapshot of the ills of society.
Yes.
So we can not only blame government to say this is where government has erred, because government, they only receive from what society has given them. From the justice system itself, it starts at home. So which means that our building blocks of society, somehow one or the other are broken. So we need to rebuild them. And that's the only way we can actually alleviate overcrowding within our correctional centers.
Have you had a discussion with Peter Groenewald, Minister of Correctional Services, just to get an understanding of who you are, so that he can understand really the work that you are doing within the prisons of the country?
I think he has been there for a short period of time.
So
what we will do is we will engage with them, and at any opportunity that is given, because they are quite very busy, especially new ministers when they come in. For you to get a chance to actually engage with them, it might take a year or so. So we have indicated that through the Director of Spiritual Care, that I would like to have a meeting with the top officials, the minister and the commissioner as well. Because yearly we do engage with the commissioner, which is I think just below the minister himself, where we have discussion on policy and how the work is actually carrying on a yearly basis, maybe twice a year. So that has been ongoing, and I think with our collaboration and the results that we have achieved in the past 5 years has been tremendous, because with the programs that we have implemented, from our educational programs to the halal programs that we are putting in place, we have been accommodated to the extent that even in Ramadan itself, we have Ramadan guidelines, and that guides how Muslims should be taken care of within the confines of those correctional centers, because it is only through religion that people can be rehabilitated to this true sense of the word.
Well, one final question for the viewers watching at home, thinking, well, what's the use of helping prisoners, because they are condemned already to being, as they would say, criminals, that they've got no place in society. Why should they come back? They've committed a crime. They've had the chance in society, have tried to make a difference, but they've chosen a route of crime. How do you respond to that by saying the importance of rehabilitation, the importance of a chance in society? How do you say, give them a chance, because there may be a difference that they could make to society, especially with, taking even more Allah-fearing ways and even understanding what Islam means for that second chance?
I think what is important, what this religion was built upon, it is through people that were thought that our Kabirin, the Sahaba themselves, some of them had committed the worst of crimes, but when they became on deen, they became our role models today. So through that, I think society needs to understand that judgment is in the hands of Allah. We cannot judge and take a standing and say this person is condemned. That is in the hands of Allah. There are people in correctional centers, and those people, you don't know how close they become to Allah, and as well as what they have in them that they can contribute towards the betterment of society. Only Allah knows. So it gives us hope to say that if a person has made a mistake, we give them a second chance. And the same applies to ourselves. If we find ourselves in that situation where we are vulnerable as far as our family, our life, what the future holds, that is where we need one another to stand with us and push us and say, we are with you, and this is the right direction that we need to go. I think through that, if society approaches life that way, we will be a better society, and people will look at Islam in a different way and say that this is the religion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a true religion of Islam, where people had lost hope. Allah has given them hope, and society have embraced them, and they are back into society. Yes, of course, it is not an easy task. It is very challenging in the sense that it's human nature that when we look at someone who has done something that is despicable in society, to accept them, it takes a man of great iman for them to accept them back into society. So we are saying to the people out there that even it can be your child or anyone from the community, let's look at it this way with a spiritual eye. Let's look at this way that it is, everyone deserves a second chance. Sure. And as well as it is not within our hands to condemn anyone. That condemnation, it is only in the hands of Allah. Anyone can be redeemed, or anyone can be given a second chance by Allah. So we hope that society out there, I will actually even be part of us, come and join us, volunteer, and see how we can clean our society of these evils that find our brothers and sisters behind bars. And when we will actually do that, then we'll find that we are contributing to a better society.
Moulana Ahmed, Jazakallah so much for joining us here on News in Focus. Much appreciated. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That is Moulana Ahmed Namutamba, of course, from the Muslim Correctional Services Board. That's all we have for you here on News in Focus. From myself, Faraz Patel, and the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Stay beautiful, South Africa. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.